All right. Animazement, hello, welcome, and good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you may be. We are here at Kimono USA with Laura Shae. As we talked about earlier, there's nothing more iconic in Japanese culture than kimono. Laura has been, Laura, how long have you been dressing kimono?
Since 2006.
Wow, okay, so quite a bit of experience
Yeah.
in all styles.
Yeah.
And so this morning we're going to do a dressing demonstration and see what really is involved in women's kimono.
Okay.
As this is very simple comparatively.
Compared to women's, yeah.
And we are not going to do simple today, are we?
No.
Tell me, what are we going to do?
Well, today we're going to demonstrate dressing the most formal kimono for young unmarried women, which is the furisode. Furisode means swinging sleeve. You'll notice when we start dressing that the sleeves are extremely long, and that means swinging sleeve, the furisode. That indicates that the young lady that's wearing the kimono is 25 years or younger and is unmarried, traditionally.
Traditionally.
Yeah.
But this is not something you would wear to streets or summer festivals.
It's very formal.
This is very, very formal.
Right. Graduation ceremonies, a formal dance, anything that's extremely formal.
All right. Let's get into this and see what's involved.
Okay.
Great.
Okay. This undershirt is called a hadage. It's what everyone wears. Men and women wear this under every kimono, whether it's formal or informal. It's made of cotton so that we can perspire on this and then wash it and not worry about staining the silk. All women's kimono are open at the armpit because we wear our obis higher up under our midriff and they're wider, so we need that freedom of movement. Whereas men's sleeves are sewed to the body and their obi are narrow and worn at the hips, so it's not much of an issue. But you'll notice that's a good way, if you're uncertain whether a kimono is a man or a woman's, no matter how masculine it may appear, if the armpit is open, it's a woman's. So, all right. Okay. Do that. All right, so we have to do sideways, remember? Yeah, there. All right. Everything is always left over right. As some of you may know, corpses are dressed the other way. If you ever should, unfortunately, have to attend a funeral, you would still wear it left over right. Only the deceased wears it right over left. And the interesting thing about kimono is there are no buttons, zippers, everything is tied. The garment has not changed since about 1590.
Wow, so it's quite a long tradition.
Yeah. Now, if you go beyond that, the kimono does change a little bit. If you look at really old scrolls, you'll see things that are a little different. Now, for the ladies, you want to make sure, now she's wearing an undershirt under this, but you want to make sure that you leave enough, because we're going to pull the collar off the back of her neck. So you want to make sure that this t-shirt, this hadage, does not show once we get the under kimono on, which is the nagajuban, that's the slip. And you may ask yourself, well, how low do I need to make the collar? A fist's width from the neck. If you're geisha, it's going to go here, okay? But that's a professional entertainer. Young girls, 14 and younger, it's all the way up against their neck because this is considered flirtatious.
It's a modesty thing.
Yes, yes. Little girls don't do that. So this is, I call this neck décolletage instead of the chest. Japanese culture thinks the back of a woman's neck is very alluring. So, okay. All right, and now there are nagajuban that are one piece, but I prefer the half. This is the harajuban, the upper part. I like it because you have more options. The collar is considered an accessory, so you can switch out the collar.
Oh, wow.
And you'll notice a lot of times the collar is baste stitched. That's so you can easily remove it. I've cheated, I've used safety pins because I don't have time to sew. But normally you would baste stitch and then remove them. And if your collar becomes dirty, you can also remove it and wash it. I also prefer when, this is called a emon nuki. This helps also to pull the upper part of the slip away, the neckline away from the nape of the neck. and is also very helpful. What I'm going to do now is under every slip, whether it's full piece or half piece, we're going to put this collar stiffener in there. This also gives the upper slip more shape so that we can then drape the outer kimono over it and again have a lovely nape neckline.
Okay, now obviously those are modern materials for that. What traditionally did they use to stiffen the neck?
They probably just made the collar extra, padded it and made it, probably used some sort of interfacing. That's probably what they did, or heavily starched it too on top of that. Yeah. And the reason that originally the reason that we pull the lady's collar off the back of the neck was a long time ago, of course, there was no hairspray, so the ladies would dress their hair with Camilla oil, and they did not want the oil to get their to get on the kimono, so they would pull the back of the kimono away from their neck, and then it just became tradition to do so.
Okay, makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I imagine with the geisha with the wax in their hair, they have the same type of deal.
Well, wax would actually be easier because you don't have to worry about.
Well,
it's not wet.
Bleed off,
yeah,
right?
yeah. But when ladies waxed their hair, you would do the once a week, like maybe from the 1960s, if everybody, I don't know how many people remember, you do the wash and set, and that's kind of what they would do, and they still do, is when they get their hair waxed, they've got to sleep a certain way, they've got to rest on a little pedestal so that they don't mess up the hair, and then every week they remove the old wax and put on new ones.
Wow.
So a lot of times geisha have problems with dandruff for that reason because their scalp is sealed off. And a lot of geisha, for that reason, nowadays prefer to wear wigs so you don't have that problem and you're not always having to wear the traditional hairstyle. So, but that's how the amon nuki works. So now that's about what we want it to be at. Okay. All right, and now the other thing is, I'm sorry I have my back to the camera. We're trying to make most ladies have an hourglass figure. We're trying to make the body conform to the tube shape of the kimono. So there's lots of padding, lots of little accoutrements to fill in all the hollows. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put this so that we fill in the hollow of the back so that the obi will fit nicely.
Now I'm starting to see why this would not be a summer festival wear.
Right.
You know, all of the layers.
Well, so far, everything for a yukata, we would be doing the same thing except we wouldn't have this.
Okay.
There's no collar for the yukata. You would just wear the hadage underneath and the bottom skirt, the bottom half slip that I'm going to put on next. But everything else you would still do.
You would still do, even with the hakata.
Yes.
Okay.
So we're trying to keep this as smooth and wrinkle-free as possible. All right, now because I take traditional Japanese dance, so I like the type of skirt that has a panel in it. Most do not have a panel, but when you're doing dance, a lot of times you have to do a splits or you have to open wide. It's a big no-no in Japanese culture to show your legs. So mine has a panel so that no matter what I have to do on stage, I don't expose my legs. Okay, if you'll just step into that. Okay, make sure there we go. All right, so this is called a susoyoke, and basically it means wraparound skirt.
Yeah, because with everything going on, you can certainly see things starting to take, well, less shape.
Yeah, yeah. Geisha always have a reputation for being elegant and beautiful and exotic. But if you saw, this is what's going on underneath. It's very busy and not what you would consider alluring. But once you have the final product, you look extremely elegant. But yeah, there's a lot going on underneath. Okay, now most Western ladies, we need to compress because again, we want that tube shape. So we're going to do a compression here. And the other thing is when you wear kimono as a female, I would highly recommend wearing your hair up so that you get the beautiful nape to expose, and also it's just more traditional. If you're interested, ooh, we slipped here. It's more traditional to have an updo. Now some ladies in the 20s and 30s did the little bob, and that was, you know, they wanted to be modern, but I would recommend a nice updo when you're wearing kimono. And there's been a lot of, there's some ladies that wear kimono for work, and a lot of employers don't want you to wear glasses because they say it spoils the effect of the kimono. So whenever possible, if your eyes can take contacts, it does look nicer to not have to wear glasses when you're wearing kimono. Okay. All right, so now we've got her all layered up, so all compressed and hollows filled in. So now we're going to do the nagajuban. Now, I don't have any Furisode nagajuban, but typically the sleeve length of the nagajuban should match the sleeve length of the Furisode, but I don't have one with me at the moment. I picked this one because it has a really pretty collar. And a nice little trick is grab that. So when you're putting on the nagajuban, you want your sleeves within your sleeves to always kind of nest inside each other, because otherwise you will not have much freedom of movement.
Okay.
There we go. All right. And then when you do the collar, for the kimono and the nagajuban, you want this to be covered, and then gradually it shows a little more as you go forward. So once it's about under the ears, that's when you want to start letting the collar show a little bit. Now, geisha will show almost all the collar, but regular person would show just a little bit. And normally you want it so that your collarbone is shown. You don't want it up here. Even in Japanese culture, you know, you meet people who, when they do button-up shirts, they button their shirt all the way up, and it gives you this tight feeling, and also that you think, oh, that person's kind of uptight too. Japanese have the same idea when you do the collar. You want the collarbone to show. You don't want it too close to the neck. Okay. So I recommend having at least 3 koshihimo. That's what the fabric is called. Koshihimo means hip band. So men use koshihimo as well, but not as many as ladies.
No, we can get away with 1, 2 is usually best.
Yeah. And when I'm tying them, I just make 1 knot and then I twist it and tuck it because we're trying to avoid lumps. All right. So now we're ready for the furisode. And typically when you're at this point, when you put on the kimono, you want to put it on like this so that it's properly draped under the nagajuban. So go ahead and do that. So we're going to do, and also make sure that you're always straightening the back out. This seam should always be in the middle of the back.
Now, Laura, I do have a question with the koshihimo. Mm-hmm. Is that where you can adjust the length of the kimono?
Yes.
If the woman happens to be taller or shorter than the actual garment?
That's true. Most ladies' kimono are made really long on purpose so that you can adjust the length. Okay, now we're going to face them. All right. So now I'm adjusting the collar. And this is where we're going to use the koshihimo to adjust, oops, step forward a little bit, there we go. We're going to adjust the koshihimo so that it's at her ankles. So what I'm going to do is grab the kimono by the collar and I'm going to pull it up so we're at ankle length. And again, it's always left over right. And we're going to tie it in place at the length we need.
Now, I've got to ask as you're doing this, how
Yep.
easy is it for you to dress yourself?
If you take about 25 to 30 minutes, that's fast.
Okay.
Because of all the layers, all the little accoutrements that you need to make it look good. So 25 minutes is fast. Now if it's just yukata, yeah, 20 minutes, because there's not as much stuff going on. But you still have to do all the padding and everything.
Yeah, I mean, I really wanted to talk to you through this, but I'm just fascinated about all the
Yeah.
steps.
Yeah. Now what I'm doing now is I'm folding the excess over, and you do want the fold of the kimono to actually show under the obi. That fold is called ohashori. It's a prestige thing that you have this extra silk. So if possible, sometimes ladies are too tall and you really can't get that ohashori. So, but if at all possible, you want to try and make sure you have that fold. Okay, this is called the date jime, and we're going to put that. This is going to keep the collar in place.
Exhale.
Well, she's got a lot of layers on at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even if I wanted to exhale, that's not happening.
I'm just so thankful for the weather this year.
Yes.
It has been traditionally so warm at Animazement. And
Oh,
this
yeah.
year has been beautiful.
So again, always pull a little bit under the armpits, give yourself a little freedom of movement. This is where it's most common for kimono to rip if you don't give yourself enough room to move. So you pull the fabric forward and up. You have enough freedom of movement, like up. Yeah, okay. Because that's where it's going to rip most often. If it rips on the seam, you're good. It's easy to repair, but you can damage the fabric, so we want to try and avoid rips. Okay, so there's everything we've got now. And if you find that once you've tied it, it's a little short, you can always
Just give it a little tug.
Yeah, give it a little tug and adjust the length. All right, now this is the obi-ita. You can think of it as a cummerbund stiffener. So we put that on to make sure that the obi doesn't get wrinkled or crumpled. And some obi-ita, mine doesn't, but some obi-ita have a little hidden pocket inside, so you can put a credit card or
Cell
keys.
phone.
Yeah. Oh, not enough for a cell phone, but little stuff.
Little stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So now we have that. Now we're fine. We're almost done. Now we need to get the obi.
Now this is where we start getting very fancy.
Yes. For the obi, for horisode, you want the proper level of formality is a hukuro obi. Not Nagoya obi, which is the obi that has the wide piece and then the narrow piece. That's too informal. Hukuro is what you need to wear with horisode. I'm looking for an obi that's a nice contrast. You don't want it to be too matchy-matchy.
Yeah, you can't go wrong with either one of those.
Yeah. I'm going to go with the gold. Yeah, okay. So, with the hukuro obi, we've got this blank area here, and that's the part that's going to wrap around the waist first. All obi, both for men and women, wrap around your waist twice. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to fold it in half. And if you want to put your back to me so we can, there we go. And again, make sure this is straight and smooth. This seam, it's good to have this seam be in the middle of your back. This one you can play with a little bit. Ideally, you would want it to be straight down the middle, but if you can't, if it doesn't work that way, that's okay. We do want to get rid of all the poofiness there. So nice and smooth and flat. Okay, so now you can do this in the front if you're trying to tie yourself. It takes a little doing because the obi is heavy, but it's just a matter of practice. I'm going to do this from the back just because it's a little easier, but you can do this from the front and then turn it around. So I'm going to do the real simple knot. There's literally hundreds of ways to tie a hukuro obi, but this is the simplest way for horisode without having to have additional accessories.
I can't get over how long that obi is.
Yeah, they're usually about 13 feet wide and about 12 inches long.
Yeah. I mean, the one that I'm wearing is maybe 10 feet and
Yeah.
6 inches wide. That,
Yeah, men's are 6 inches wide.
Yeah, that is an amazing garment.
They're
right
they're
there,
a
just
little
in its
more
own right.
narrow. Okay, now we're gonna tighten.
I heard the grunt.
Yeah, we don't have a bedpost, so for her to hang on to. So I've wrapped it twice. So now I'm going to make a knot. You can also get an obi clip. It looks like a giant clip. It saves wear and tear on your obi. But if you can't find one, you know, it's okay to knot it. Okay, so now we've made our knot. And we've got this long piece left. The long piece that you're left with is called the tare, or tail. The short piece is called the te, or the hand. So now we're gonna go, the most simplest is a bunko. It's very, very simple, very, very easy.
Is that the clamshell knot?
No.
No, okay.
Bunko is different. It's the simplest knot you can do. There's certain, the obi knots are called musubi. There's certain musubi you do only for furisode. The most popular one is plump sparrow, but I don't have the accessories to do that one properly, but it does look like a plump little sparrow when you're done. All right, and what I'm trying to do is I want to get that so I can make one more pass.
Now I'm assuming sitting down is not so much of an option at this point.
Well, yes, you can sit. You can do anything you need to in a kimono. You just have to do it differently. So yes, you can sit. If you're driving, I would leave this in the front, since you're going to be, if you're doing it yourself, you're going to be tying it in the front. Because otherwise you're driving like this.
You've got some great lumbar support.
Yeah. But so when you get out of the car, turn it around. The important thing to note, I'm not trying to be inappropriate, but if you leave your obi tied in the front, traditionally that is what prostitutes would do, because they were taking it on and off frequently, but also a long time ago when women got married, they would tie their obi in the front, so the courtesans were trying to look respectable. And then that fell out of fashion, but the courtesans still continued to tie the obi in the front, and so then it became a stigma at that point. So, all right, so there we go.
Wow,
Yeah.
that is quite the,
Yeah.
I don't even know where to start. It's an amazing process.
Yeah.
And the final product is,
Yeah.
it is a wow factor.
Yes. Now when you walk, you want your knees touching, not clamped, but your knees touching. And toes slightly in, not totally pigeon-toed. So you're going to walk like this, okay? And then when you need to get into a car seat's here, you sit down and then slide in. If you're going upstairs, you want to be very elegant when you have to, so do this. You want to hide your thumb. Yep, not that high. You want to hide your thumb. Thumbs are considered not pretty. Ladies always want to make their hands look smaller, so they always hide their thumbs so they can look, their hands can look more dainty. If you're going upstairs, you go up like that, holding it like this, and then up, so that the flap.
You're sidestepping your stairs then.
Yes, so
Okay.
that the flap doesn't show anything.
No
Now,
ankles.
as you walk, they've made this so that you get a little flap, so you'll see this, and that's on purpose. You get the little pretty flash of color as you're walking. So
I have to ask, how easy is the walking? Give us a few steps.
yeah.
Well, I can feel it in my knees.
Yeah.
This has been amazing. Laura, I cannot thank you enough
Oh, you're
for
welcome.
demonstrating how to do all of this.
Yes.
Folks, come on down, see Laura down at Kimono USA at Animazement. You know, she's been a great patron for the convention for a number of years. Show her some support and love. And at that, Laura, thank you very much.
Hi.
Have a great rest of the convention.
Thank you.
And we will see you back here another time.